Good morning, Miss Griswold.
Good morning, Miss Stratemeyer. How you doing?
I am great. How are you?
I'm good. I cannot believe this is our last session.
I know it's the last week of school, which means these are the last couple chapters of Wishtree.
I've had so much fun reading with you, and I hope everybody else has had a good time listening along.
Me too. I agree. So we just have a couple additional chapters to read to end up sum up all the things that we've been reading in the book so far. And many of you have mentioned to me what you think is going to happen and how you might have some wishes. So hopefully we can make your wishes come true.
I hope so.
All right, chapter 48. We ready?
Ready.
It isn't easy cutting down a big tree. It takes careful planning and people who know what they're doing. I'd seen neighboring trees cut down. I knew how things went. While Sandy and Max moved people to a safe distance, Stephen's parents watched from their porch and Samar's from theirs. Meanwhile, the tree people put ropes around my trunk and consulted with one another. A man and a woman carried over a huge chainsaw, followed by the stump grinder. The grinder looked like a little hungry animal. Actually, it looked a lot like a hungry animal. All those critters gone? Dave asked to Francesca. Haven't seen any, she answered. Dave climbed the ladder and peered into my hollows as well as he could. He didn't seem to notice Bongo, who was hiding deep in the owl's former home. I sat patiently awaiting my fate, while around me the world buzzed. A huge crowd filled with old neighbors and new friends had gathered, it seemed, to see me off. Near the curb, some kids were making music. I don't know if it was good music, but it was most definitely loud music. I realized it was the garage band Bongo liked. The whole thing was almost like a party, a going away party. There it was surrounding me, my wild and tangled and colorful garden. It wasn't such a bad way to leave the world, I decided. Not bad at all.
Miss Stratemeyer, I got a tree cut down in my backyard the other week, and I was thinking about the feelings that it had about being cut down, and it really made me second guess. Part of it was dead, so we had to cut it down, but it just made me think about Red and about this story and about all the animals living in it, and it kind of made me feel a little bit sad.
And you know what's crazy is that we've said this whole time that Red is an optimistic character, and even in the last days, Red is saying, well, it's not so bad. They're playing music. It's like a going away party.
Yeah.
That makes me happy, but I can imagine you being sad, missing that tree now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you'll have to plant like a little baby one somewhere.
Yeah, we'll do something back there to make up for it.
All right, chapter 49. Dave had a megaphone, and through it, he reminded the crowd to stay behind the barriers that had been erected. This is a big tree, folks, he said, and when it goes, we don't want anyone else going with it. Bongo, I said in a voice that only she could hear, you need to get to a safe place. You heard him. I'm a big tree. You don't want to be in the way when I fall. I'm not going anywhere, she replied in a stubborn whisper. Don't worry about me. I'll be fine, but I'm staying with you, Red, and that's final.
What a good friend.
Dave turned to his workers. Okay, let's get this show on the road. Please, Bongo, I said softly but urgently. The saw moved closer. I waited, expecting to hear the painful roar of the chainsaw engine. Instead, a small but intense sound filled the air, something like a puppy growl mixed with a kitten hiss. It was a baby possum, darting through the huge crowd across the muddy lawn past Dave and his crew, around the massive saw, beneath the stump grinder, and finally, triumphantly, up my trunk was none other than Flashlight. He climbed straight to his former hollow and settled there, his tiny head poking out. He was panting and trembling and hiccuping, but he did not seem to be in any danger whatsoever of fainting. I missed you, Red, he said, in a voice so small that only Bongo and I could hear it. Hold off on the saw, Dave yelled. Some dang animal just ran up the trunk. Bongo popped out of her hollow. Flash, she hissed. You can't be here. It's dangerous. They're about to, well, you know. You're here, Flash pointed out. Across the grass streaked hairy spiders with her other babies trailing. She went straight to the possum hollow where she proceeded to scold Flash as she snuggled him close. In the sky, little Harold suddenly appeared, frantically flapping his wings like a fuzzy butterfly. Agnes and the rest of her brood followed too. They settled into their old home as if they'd never left. Bongo moved to home plate to make room for the owls. The ewes came next, trotting across the lawn. Last to join the group was the skunk family, who quickly scrambled up my trunk. 7 possums, 4 raccoons, 5 owls, and 6 skunks had waddled, scooted, dashed, and fluttered from their various homes just to see me off. My residents, my friends. The crowd was delighted. People applauded, they cheered, they laughed. Francesca, straining to get a look, accidentally let go of the kitten's leashes, allowing Lewis and Clark to escape. They ran straight to me, clambering up my trunk to join the gang.
Aww.
It wasn't all perfection. The babies and parents were grumbling, but softly enough that none of the humans could hear. "Ouch!" muttered Hot Buttered Popcorn. "Your tail is in my mouth," cried one of the ewes. "You smell like a skunk," someone complained. "I am a skunk," came the reply. "Mom," asked Harold, "should I be afraid of a cat?" "As a rule, yes," said Agnes, "but this is a special circumstance." It took some effort, but eventually the entire group settled in together above the highest wishes. They gazed down calmly at the fascinated crowd below. One of the tree cutters took off his helmet and scratched his head. "This don't just happen," he said to Dave. "Those animals ought to be eating each other." "It's some kind of crazy critter miracle," said another worker. He pulled out his smartphone. "This is going on Facebook." Lots of other people seemed to have the same idea. Cameras clicked away, ignoring the barricades. The reporters dashed over, microphones extended as if they were hoping to interview the animals. Bongo, always a bit of a ham, was happy to comply. "Chip, please," she said to the microphone waving beneath her.
Dave gestured helplessly at Francesca. "What is up with the menagerie, lady? How are we supposed to cut this tree down?" Francesca, wiping away tears, stood. She put her arms around Stephen and Samar. Slowly, they made their way across the muddy grass. When she reached me, she pulled a bookmark from Maeve's journal before handing the book to Stephen. It was a strip of cloth made of blue striped fabric, frayed and faded. Maeve's wish. Carefully, Francesca tied it to my lowest branch, already crowded with wishes. She stared, long and hard, at the animals. Lewis and Clark purred happily. The crowd quieted. The only sound was the rustling of my leaves. Finally, Francesca spoke. "Look, I don't do speeches. That's not my way." She patted my trunk. "But here's the thing. Until today, I'd almost forgotten how important this old tree is to my family story. And from the look of it," she pointed to my residence, "it's important to a few other families as well." Many people smiled. A few even laughed. "I hate this word," Francesca continued, running her hand over my carved bark. "Hate it. My great-great-grandmother Maeve would have hated it just as much. Here in this neighborhood, we're better than this." She looked over at Samar's parents. "We don't threaten people here. We welcome them."
"We welcome them!"
Francesca reached for Samar's hand. "This tree is staying put, and I hope your family will too." Oh, my heart. So sweet. I love seeing the community come together like this.
Oh, lesson learned.
Yes. All right, 50. That night, many hours after the crowd had scattered, Samar slipped out the front door of my little blue house. Stephen, who'd been watching from his bedroom window, joined her moments later. They sat, silent, beneath my wish-laden boughs. The slightest breath of wind sent the index cards fluttering like huge moths. Moonlight was everywhere, it seemed, on the wishes, on my branches, on the downy-headed owlets, and the upturned gazes of Stephen and Samar. How beautiful we all were, bathed by the soft and silver light. "Do you think your family will stay here?" Stephen asked. "After everything that's happened?" "I don't know," said Samar. "I hope so." The breeze kicked up. Cards chattered. Ribbons danced. A scrap of notebook paper, loosely tied with red yarn to my lowest branch, broke free. Samar snatched it as it swooped past. She squinted at the scribbled writing. Then she stood, carefully tying the paper back onto my branch. "What was this wish for?" Stephen asked. "An invisible robot that does homework." "Seems unlikely." "True," Samar leaned against my trunk and smiled. "But then, so does a talking tree." 51. If this were a fairy tale, I'd tell you there was something magical about that wishing day, that the world changed and we all lived happily ever after. But this is real life. And real life, like a good garden, is messy. Some things have changed. Some things haven't. Still optimist that I am, I'm feeling hopeful about the future. Samar's parents decided not to move, at least not for a while. Stephen and Samar have become good friends. Sometimes they do their homework at the base of my trunk. Their parents still don't talk to one another. I'm not sure they ever will. The police never found the boy who carved a leaf into my trunk, but a couple of weeks ago, I saw him sauntering by. I pointed him out to Bongo. Let's just say she made a very large deposit that day. All my residents are back where they belong, safe in their hollows. They still argue sometimes, but they haven't yet eaten one another. Francesca applied to the city to make me a heritage tree. That means I'm protected forever. Ooh. She's also on a first-name basis with a local plumber who's learning to deal with my pushy roots. Lewis and Clark still haven't figured out how to walk on leashes. Bongo's made a new friend. His name is Harley Davidson. I suspect we may have some crow newbies in our future. As for me, I promised Bongo I will never be a Budinsky again. I told her that my meddling days are over. And yet, here we are, you and I. What can I say? I'm more talkative than most trees. Still, if you find yourself standing near a particularly friendly-looking tree on a particularly lucky-feeling day, it can't hurt to listen up. Trees can't tell jokes, but we can certainly tell stories. That was so good!
What an awesome book. I love it.
It just made my heart so happy to see every single person in that community come together for one reason.
And we watched the development of Francesca as a character over the plot of this story and how she really didn't want Red to be there anymore. And it seemed like her heart had kind of grown a little cold. And then after seeing all the animals together and Stephen and Samar becoming friends and going through her old great-great-grandmother's journal, she really, at the end, saved the day. And yeah. I love that.
She just remembered where she came from, and she remembered how much, Red meant to her and her family. And having those little reminders to get her there was really important.
And this book really did teach us some of the virtues that we've been working on all year. I know in the Blue House, we talked a lot about acceptance, and this book could not teach acceptance any greater about how hurtful the word leave is and how we do need to be accepting of all different types of people and recognize all of our differences.
Yeah, and I think at this point and this time in the world, this book, more than anything, really can teach us those life lessons that we need to apply to everyday life.
Absolutely. The compassion, like the yellow house. Oh, it just makes my heart so happy.
Empathy. So, what is that? Pink house.
Empathy.
Uh-huh.
Yes, ma'am.
So many great virtues.
Yep. So many of the virtues that we worked on all year. So what we want to do is to extend an assignment, not like a graded one, not like one that's going to be so boring.
But a fun one.
A fun one. And we're hoping that maybe in the fall we can do it at the actual school because we wanted to use one of the trees on our property at Logan Elementary and have all of you give us your wishes for the summertime. But obviously that's something that we can't do right now. So we wanted to show you a way that you could do it virtually. So I know a lot of you have been using Jamboard with your teachers. And so Jamboard, as you know, is a tool that you can use at the same time. So anybody could be writing on it. So what Miss Griswold and I would like you to do is to think about one thing that you are wishing for this summer, or even like kind of like when you blow out your birthday candles, the thing that you wish for when you shut your eyes and you keep it a secret to yourself, we want you to post it here. So what's one thing? It could be a giant life lesson, like something going on in the world, or it could just be something you're wishing for this summer. And we would like you to post it here on this Jamboard. So you can either click and add a sticky note and type your wish, or you can choose the pen tool and write your wish. And please know that up here, if you keep selecting next, there's a bunch of frames where you can write. And it's kind of like a graffiti wall because it's not going to be one person per page because there's almost 600 students in our school. So you can write wherever you can find some space, almost like if you were signing like a poster or a cast or a yearbook. Miss Griswold, am I missing anything?
No, I think that's perfect. We'll put the link in the Schoology page where we always put our discussion posts. That way they can just click right on it and go right to it.
Perfect. And then hopefully your teachers will explain it to you, and then we will be looking at those wishes all summer long.
I cannot wait to see what some of you guys wish for.
Me either. All right, Miss Griswold. Well, I hope you have an awesome summer.
And I hope you have a great summer too.
And I hope I get to see you in person and give you a big hug.
Give real hugs, and I can't wait to give all of our friends some real hugs because I miss everybody so, so much.
Very true. All right, Miss Griswold. Catch you later.
Bye.